Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket nines. We're in the small blind. We've got two limpers and a razor. Limpers are going to be fairly wide. This guy's 45 hands. He's played 93-2. I don't think we're looking at aces or kings. I don't think we have aces or kings for either of these. I don't think we have, for this player, ace king, ace queen, queens, jacks, tens, probably king queen suited. I think we could eliminate. They're both going to be fairly wide and fairly weak. I'm not going to build these ranges because they're going to fold on the flop. Players of interest are big blind in the button, so button raises to 3 bets. Now he's playing 31-11, so he seems to be a little bit more loose passive. When we look at his button stats, his raise first sin's 1 out of 21. His VPIP is 52, so 11 out of 21. And you can see when we think about limp and call or raise, limp and fold, he really hasn't had that. His limp with previous limpers, 2 out of 7. His raise with previous limpers, 1 out of 7. So he has raised, and then he's cold called a 2-bet. So he hasn't really raised a whole lot. This is going to be the second time that he's raised, and it's possible that he really hasn't had the opportunity to raise. And you can see it raised first in 0 out of 1. So we just kind of have to go off of what his play kind of looks like. Raised with previous limpers is probably playing something somewhat strong. So, we could start here. That's 5%. This could be his range, or it's probably something a little bit stronger. He just hasn't really had hands to come in for a raise. So we can give him like suited broadways, some offsuit broadways, pocket pairs, suited connectors. That's at 15.7%. This still might be a little bit tight for him. This raise first in is 17%. So you can see 19 in early position, 24% in mid position. That's 5 out of 27, 4 out of 17. Then 0 out of 7, 0 out of 1, 0 out of 2. So definitely he's had more hands in early and mid position. And that kind of leads me to think that he's playing maybe a slightly wider range, slightly stronger range. Maybe he has all of the offsuit broadways as well. That gets us up to 18. And I think we're going to stay there. So then it's to me. I ended up calling with pocket nines, and I know we've had pocket nines before. Here's a small blind versus button calling range. Now, this is a tight range. So this is a small blind versus button tight. You can see the call. We're 3-betting stronger. If it was just a regular button, we would be raising these hands. We'd be adding a few, we'd be adding ace 5 to that. We'd be adding ace jack and king queen off to that. But versus this tight player, and I think this is kind of a tight player, we're going to go with this call. Is there any harm in 3-betting here? No, not really. But I'm looking at this guy's stats, and it's looking like he's more loose passive, which when we see a raise should cause alarm bells to go off. So I called with the nines. Button called, or big blind called too. He's playing 16-10, which is more of like a tight aggressive type of range. His big blind stat plays 8 out of 34 hands, so 24%. His called 2-bets is basically called the 2-bets 8 times. So I don't think he has queens plus ace king. I think that's going to be a 3-bet. He has 3-bets at 6%. But he doesn't have 3-bet from the blinds. So called 2-bet from the blind. He's got 10s, 7s, jack 9, suited. I've got all of those in here. I've got your suited aces. I've got your pocket pairs. So I think we've got our 3 ranges. Both of the limpers call, which, not surprised, 93% for this guy, 37% for this guy. I'm guessing that once he saw 2 other callers, he's calling with 100% of his range that he currently has. All right, flop is 6-3-2. Nothing that is too interesting. So now it's kind of looking like pocket pairs. If there's pocket pairs out there, then those are going to be the hands to beat. You do have the spade draw. That's out there. You have the straight draw. Question is, who hits what? So villain 2 could hit anything, but he's going to have a lot of hands that completely miss. So it's going to be a low percentage that this villain hits. This villain's going to be a slightly higher percentage that he hits, but still he's going to have a lot of hands that miss, a lot of weak hands, maybe 6s, maybe a 3, and so forth. Villain 3, if he hits it, it's going to be a pocket pair that hits trips, so maybe pocket 6s, or an overpair. He could also have like the ace king, ace queen of spades, king queen of spades, so like the nut flush draw. I didn't include ace 4, ace 5 in his range, like the small suited aces. If they are in his range, then he also has a straight, so like it'd be prime to have like ace 4 spades, ace 5 spades, so you've got a cut shot and that flush draw. What about, so villain 3 is probably like over pair if he bets and shows that he wants to play. Villain 4 is probably also an overpair. He's also playing somewhat a little bit more reasonable. He could possibly have a 6, but you can see there's a lot of hands here that are going to miss. Of the two players, probably villain 4 has a lower hit percentage than villain 3. And you could see that you've got equities are running very close between me and the other players. So I think it's kind of a neutral board for the three of us. Although I think equity advantage goes to villain 3. All right, so the hand gets checked to villain 3. I'm gonna be checking here, checking pre-flop or checking the flop basically 100% of the time. What's the reason to lead here? We've got, if we lead, there's a possibility that we're gonna get callers behind us, and then if villain 3 raises, we're forced to call. We're just building a massive pot, and it's going to be a massive multi-way pot that really reduces our overall equity in the hand, because that equity is going to be shared with all the other players in the pot. If we're looking to check raise, which I think we could check raise here with our overpair, we're looking at checking, letting it get to villain 3, and then when we raise, we're applying kind of maximum pressure, because it's not going to just be like, let's say a 7.5 big blind bet. It's going to be, he makes 7.5, and then I raise it up to 22, 23, and that's going to be now 23 big blinds to call and just see the next card. And there's no guarantee that this guy's not going to re-raise. Is a check raise the best play? Well, if we look at raising out of position, we're supposed to be playing what's called like a quasi-polarized range, where we're playing our really good hands, and then our like nut flushes, hands that have some equity. Does pocket 9s fit into this? Well, the rule's kind of like having a good two pair plus. That's two pairs. Two pairs or better is like our value, is our value hands, and then your draws, like your nut flush here. So like if we had ace 4, ace 5 of spades, that's a great hand to check raise. I think we can have 4-5, with the straight, that's value. If we have, let's say, 7-5 of spades, that's probably not going to be a value check raise, because we could pick up the spade and still be beat. So we really want to have, in this hand, I think we want the nut flush draw, the ace x spades, to balance our 2 pair plus. So I think probably we're looking at a check call. So we do have a 7.5 bet coming in. What is he going to be betting here? It's multi-way. I'm going to say probably top pair plus overpair, or top pair plus. I don't think pocket 5s. Well, pocket 5s could be betting for a gut shot. I think flush draw is going to be doing this. We've got small gut shot. I don't really think, I think I'm saying from a lot of my hand reviews that we're not really going to be seeing a lot of overcards betting in this spot. His c-bet stats are pretty, 67% winning position, 43 went out. So, and that includes like times that they're heads up. So if we're heads up, I'm expecting him to bet probably 100% here. but with versus 4 other opponents, I think he's going to be a lot more selective. So I think we're looking at a c-bet of like 31% top pair plus. Now, a lot of that is overpair. When we look at the overpair, our 9s fall in the bottom half of those. I think we could be justified in folding here. And I really do think we could be justified in folding. But we still have an overpair. And we kind of have a spade too. So we could always fall back on the spade. So I called. And my question is, what do we call with? Well, the best we're going to have is an overpair, and it's going to be a low overpair. You can see we're not really going to have much we're not going to have any 2 pairs. We're not going to have any sets in this case. So our flush draw then we're not going to really have any sort of balance for a flush draw. So based on this range, then I know we talked about like check raising, idea of check raising. When we're out of position, we just don't have 2 pair plus. And that means we don't have anything to balance the flush draw. So I think if we're going to call with the overpair, we're going to be calling with our flush draws as well. I don't think we're calling with 2-card backdoor flush draws at all. So I think that's going to be our calling range. 64.7% here. And villain 4, now he executes the check raise. Let's check his stats on the flop. Does he check raise? 0 out of 10. This is be the first time that he check raises. What about raise a c-bet? 0 out of 9. This is the first time that he's raising a c-bet. He could be making a play. Yeah, he could be. But again, that takes some real thinking opponents to do that. And I'm not sure if thinking opponents actually make that play. So, when he raises, I'm looking at top pair plus. Not even top pair. I think overpair here. Maybe the sets, maybe the straights. I think sets and straights are check raising here to try to block out the draws. I don't even think flush draws making this play. Maybe he has a nut flush draw. Maybe he's a type player to do that. I'm not going to include that here. I don't think he has any draw. I think we're looking at overpair plus. And again, now with my 9s, I'm right in the middle of his range. He could have 10s or jacks that beat me. He could have 7s or 8s that I beat. Villain 3 folds. And that's interesting. Because when villain 3 folds, it makes me think that maybe he was doing this with the flush draw or the gut shots, or maybe even like 7-6 or the top pair. Maybe he also was doing it with like ace king, ace queen type hand. So maybe my range, my estimation of a c-betting range is off, because I think he's probably going to be calling his overpairs. Maybe not top pair. So we're at 31% here. If we cut out what hands, I think he would still call with all of his flush draws, probably not his gut shots at this point. So we're looking at 27.5. He's folding, 10% of the time. Maybe a little bit more. That's about 15. Say 10 to 15% of the time is what he's folding. And did he really just have those hands that he's folding? I think it's a little less likely here. So comes back to us. I think this player's representing decent hand, basically overpair plus. Our hand is basically dominated, is what I could say. The only hands we're hoping that he has is 7s and 8s, really. And there's also that possibility here that he chose not to raise queens and kings, so there could be even more pocket pairs. So you can see that. Let's add that. You could see that when we put in, the restrictions of his, check raising range here, especially after we have a caller, he's at 73% equity. We're at 27% equity. We need 27% equity to call. Yeah, we're probably getting it. You can see that we are overpair, and this is just our range because we're going to have overpair and the flush draw. I bet if we change this to pocket 9s, we're probably not getting that equity. So let's do that. Bring over Equilab. All right, so we have 9 of spades, 9 of hearts. And okay, our flop is 6 of spades, 3 of spades, 2 hearts. And villain's range looks something like this. Oops. There we go. Yes, we do. Let's make sure we've got everything. Jacks to 7s, yep. 6s, 3s. Where's the 5-4? There's the 5-4 spades. Yeah, that's if he doesn't have the spade draw. Let's add the flush draw in here. Let's not add all of the flush draws. Let's just do. Oops. We'll leave 7-5. Let's just give him the aces. It could be ace-4, ace-5. It might not even be all the aces either. So right now we're estimating 37%. We only needed 27%. That's what the pot odds are giving us. So yeah, that ends up being a call. This one's definitely a call. We add in more draws. We should be a call. So okay, I can go with the call here. And that's what I did. Jack of spades comes out, so that actually improves us a little bit. Now, if he's on that flush draw, let's see here. If he has those flush draws, our equity dropped a little bit. Now he still has a lot of these overpairs, and what we've done is, even if we're beat by the overpairs, or even if he caught trips now, we still have a spade that we're drawing to and that we could improve and beat him on. Now, should we be betting here? I don't think so. I don't think we're betting here because I don't think we're betting our flushes here at all. And they're going to be weak flushes. I mean, not always. We'll have a nut flush, we'll have a second, third nut, and then like a fifth nut flush. I think if we lead, we give villain a reason to fold, which maybe that's what we want. Get him to fold. But, you know, what hands are going to fold? Flushes aren't going to fold. I don't think jacks are going to fold. I don't think queens are going to fold. Do I think 10s or 8s or 7s are going to fold? No, I don't think so. I don't think I'm getting any folds here. And we can take out that, you know, his flushes too and say, look, he didn't have the flushes going forward. So now when you look at it, we've got, you know, he's got top pair, pocket pair less than the top card here. I don't think any of those are folding at all. So, you know, we could get rid of our flush draws if we wanted to. Although I think 5-4 is a pretty strong flush draw. So I check. I think my check is appropriate. And then villain 4 checks. So we're going to go back and take out the jack spades. I don't think he's got the flush draws. So when we get the jack spades here, I think now we are looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 jack. I think he's betting straights. I think, well, no, with the flush, I think the flush shot is out there. He's going to be scared of it. So maybe he freezes with the set or with the straight. Maybe he freezes with the set. If we look at hand distributions, you've got 24 of these under pairs here. You know, if we look at those 24 hands, it's basically, you can knock off 6 or 3. Well, we have 9, so you can knock out 5 of those 9. So there's only one combo of 9. So there's 12 combos of 7s and 8s. There's 6 combos of 10s. It's more likely that our pocket pair beats his pocket pair right now. But he also has these sets that really are going to crush us. At this point, we're drawing to the flush. Would he have bet those sets? Oh, man. I'm going to say no. I think there's a lot of players, and I'm seeing a lot of players now, when that scare card comes, they freeze. and they freeze when they have decent hands. So I'm going to leave all of those in there. Our plan now going forward, once he checked, is probably just a check call. No reason to bet here and get a fold. And I think if we bet, he's probably just going to be calling with all these cards anyway. So I think there's going to be more hands that beat us that call than the number of hands that we beat. So the king of spades hits. And I executed a check, so I did improve to the flush. Now the flush is actually a little bit better because when we look at his range, he has all of these other hands that I think if we bet, they're probably going to get called. So I think that might be the only card that we should have kind of called. He's got flush 36% of the time too. We check, villain 4 checks. I think with his check, he no longer has a flush, but maybe we should have bet here, gone for value, go for some thin value. So I did. Pocket 9s, he shows pocket 10s. He had that pair. He didn't have the flush. If I bet, does he call? Maybe. I think that could have been a worthwhile value bet to win some extra money here. So what hands, would I have played this differently? Maybe. I think we ran the numbers. It does look like I had the equity to draw. It does look obvious. To me, it looks pretty obvious that we're dealing with a pocket pair, at least for this guy. Maybe even a made straight. Villain 3 kind of looks like he had an overpair, but we're going to have to double check what his c-betting range is because since he c-bet and then folded, I kind of think maybe he had just overcards. Especially, and if he's going to c-bet with the overcards in a 4-way or 5-way pot, I mean, it's good to know that information. We know that he's not going to be as truthful with that c-bet as I see a lot of other players. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.